Hey there, my friends. It's Carrie, Konyha, welcoming you back to my channel and welcoming you to this week's episode of Collective Awakening Weekly. Each week, we take a look at the astrological energies that are shining in, as we also look to the tarot for additional sacred insights and wisdom teachings to further support our journey. So let's go ahead and dive in. Welcome back, guys. So we've got three main things going on astrologically this week that we're going to talk about, and I'm working with a new tarot deck today, so we have that to look forward to later on in this episode as well. I'm going to start by talking about the fact that we have Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Gemini on May 10th. And it's going to be retrograde for the rest of this month and into the first few days of June. Anytime Mercury is retrograde, we can expect in the earthly plane that there's gonna be glitchy energy, especially with the functioning of electronic equipment that has to do with modalities of communication, computers, cell phones, electronic ways of booking appointments, you name it. Mercury is connected to electric energy, in addition to it being connected to things having to do with communication, the mind, intelligence, learning, studying, and things of that nature. So typically when Mercury goes retrograde, these types of things can be a little bit glitchy. And this particular Mercury retrograde is extra potent because it's happening in the sign of Gemini. And Mercury is the natural ruler of Gemini. So Mercury energy is extra potent, extra powerful when it's in the sign of Gemini. Now, the retrograde expression of this energy compels us all a little bit more inward. Typically speaking, with any planet that goes retrograde, it turns the energy more inward and supports us in our development on inward psycho-spiritual levels in some way or another. So let's take a look at how this Mercury retrograde in Gemini might be supporting that. Because Mercury has to do with communication, it is a time where we might have introspection around that which we're intending to express or communicate in our lives. I'll take me and my life for example. So as most of you know, I teach healing arts modalities. I'm preparing to launch a new series of courses this fall, and I'm working with a new online platform. And I'm noticing that as we're coming into this Mercury retrograde, things are lining up in my life with, as you know, I just moved, been settling into my new place. Now I'm feeling ready to get back on track with the things that I had in mind to do before I had the disruption of the move. And it just so happens to be coinciding with this Mercury retrograde. And so for me, I'm getting back on track with what I was intending to do before I moved, which is putting energy sort of into the back end of what I'm preparing for my courses. So figuring out how to work with this new online platform that I'm working with, creating my outlines for my courses, getting all of the back end details set up. This is how this Mercury retrograde is supporting me in my life. So take a look at how it might be working for you. The reason I'm bringing this up is because on everyday practical levels, it can feel like we have frustrations with there being this glitchy type of energy, but there's always a gold nugget in it somewhere. There's always a way that these retrograde energies actually support us. So I encourage all of you to notice how that energy can be harnessed to your benefit over the course of this next 3 to 4 weeks while Mercury is retrograde. The other thing that I'm going to say is Mercury retrograde often inspires more of a sense of tuning in and listening. And this certainly is the case with this retrograde, combined with the other astrological aspects that we have going on this week, namely the full moon total lunar eclipse that we have going on this Saturday, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But first, I want to mention here that we also have Jupiter moving into the sign of Aries in the next few days here this week. Jupiter has been in the sign of Pisces for many months now, which has brought us all into a deepening or an expanded sense of connection with our higher self. And now with Jupiter moving into the sign of Aries, we're feeling inspired to sort of launch into action in regard to whatever deep awarenesses of insights have been gleaned through the months of connecting with ourselves on those deeper and more expansive levels spiritually. A really good way to work with this energy right now is to harness the power of your personal energy in the direction of what your deepest, truest ambitions and inspirations are. In doing that, we can rest assured that we will experience the manifestation of positive results, but it's all about consciously choosing to harness the power of your personal energy in the direction of your biggest enthusiasms. Now, having said that, this full moon total lunar eclipse that we have going on in Scorpio is a quite different energy. Scorpio is the energy of transformation. It's an energy of depth, intuition, our shadow side, deep unconscious processes going on within us that affect us. Now, the eclipse energies in general do serve to illuminate, to bring to the light of our conscious awareness that which has been influencing us on deep unconscious levels. We just had the solar eclipse 2 weeks ago on the new moon in the sign of Taurus, which had positive connections to the North Node in Taurus, which is our life calling, our sense of purpose, our drive, what we feel compelled towards in life. And now this lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio is connecting with the South Node, which is about where we're coming from, what our instincts are, what soul gifts we bring to life. So while this Scorpio lunar eclipse energy is activating processes of deep psycho-spiritual transformation leading to rebirth, at the same time, this Jupiter in Aries really compels us to kind of want to get going in life, get on to the next chapter of our experience. Now, because we have these different qualities of energies that are shining in at the same time, we can have a very real feeling of one step forward, two steps back, especially with Mercury retrograde. So this is a time where we really want to be patient. We want to trust the flow of the energies that we're moving through now, and trust that as long as we stay focused on what our deeper intentions are, that we, in the end, we are going to be making progress. I would say over the course of the next month is a really good time to sort of make your final selections about what you really do want to activate, energize, and empower throughout the remainder of the year, because the energies are going to be shifting as we're coming into the next several months. Towards the end of the year, there's going to be more retrogrades, which brings the energy again more inward, reassessing, reevaluating. So now is the time to really establish, this is what I'm intending, this is what I'm focusing forward on, and here's me aligning my actions with those goals. So having said that, on the deeper level of bringing a little bit more of a perspective or significance to this eclipse energy that we've got going on now, is this. The last time we had a lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio was in 2013, April of 2013. So you can review your timeline history and notice what was going on in April of 2013. Notice any qualities of significant transformation that were happening for you at that time. And then the last time we had a full moon total lunar eclipse at 25 degrees Scorpio was in May of 2003. So look back April 2013 and then May 2003 and see what type of theme you can recognize and know that this same type of theme will play out, but in a brand new way in your life. So you can look to see in your natal chart where 25 degrees Scorpio is, what house it's in, and that will give you an idea of the nature of the transformation that you're experiencing. For me, in my chart, I have Neptune exactly at 25 degrees Scorpio in my 8th house. Now, Neptune is the planet that represents the mystical dimensions of life, psychic ability, intuition, dreams, mysticism. And the 8th house has to do with rebirth, transformation, and Scorpio is the natural ruler of that house. And so for me, when I am experiencing a lunar eclipse in this sector of my life, it brings about situations that support a transformative energy in my own spiritual awakening or growth. For example, when I look back on what was going on in April of 2013, I was just really settling into the home that I just moved out of. I moved into that home in November of 2012. So spring of 2013, I'm still acclimating and settling in. And here we are. I literally just moved out of that house like 3-4 weeks ago. Now, when I go back to 2003, in 2003, I did a huge uprooting. I moved out of a home in a town that I was really established in and went and lived on a sustainable living community for 6 months and learned to live totally off grid, which was a hugely profound time of spiritual enrichment for me. And that's what actually led to my journey of ending up living here in Sedona. I'm in my 20th, coming into my 20th year of living here now. So I can use these past experiences and gauge like, okay, I just moved into a new place. I'm feeling these inspirations to focus on different aspects of my life and my work now. And I'm at the very beginning of that journey. It's amazing how astrology gives us little glimmers of insights as to how we can best work with the energies, especially when we can recognize how these energies have influenced us in the past. So I'm sharing those stories with you guys so that you can maybe get an idea of how you can notice the themes as they played out for your life specifically. Now, if you don't have your natal chart, you can get a free copy of your natal chart on astro.com. I'll put a link below in the description here. And then just look to see where the Scorpio sector is in that chart and look for the 25 degree area. Okay, moving on from there, let's go ahead and delve into the cards. So it's really interesting that I've had this deck probably for more than a year now. I got it on a whim one day when I felt compelled towards it or I felt guided to it. And then I got it and I wasn't really feeling connected to working with it. But today I really felt like, okay, you're supposed to work with this deck today. So this is my very first time working with this deck. It's called the Akashic Tarot. And I'll put the link on where you can get this on Amazon below, which, by the way, if you guys didn't know, for every episode, I always list what is the tarot deck or oracle deck that I'm working with. And I put a link in the description of where you can get this super easy on Amazon. So I'll do that below as well. And so here we go. I'm going to do this tarot spread that is specifically for the full moon lunar eclipse energies happening in the sign of Scorpio. So this Scorpio energy connected with the full moon lunar eclipse, one of the primary ways that it's influencing us is it's activating a depth of perceptiveness intuitively. The Sabian symbol for 25 degrees Scorpio is an X-ray, which is symbolizing being able to see through into the depths of things, see deeply into the energetic roots of yourself, your circumstances, involvements in life. This is a time of deep perceptiveness. This would be a really good week to do some journaling to help you to process or integrate whatever's coming up for you, to be embraced, acknowledged, loved, healed, integrated, and released. In fact, the first card that we're going to look at here is going to give us some deeper insight on exactly that. So the first card with this lunar eclipse reading is representing the lunar energies, which is representative of our sensing, feeling body. It's also connected to the unconscious mind, intuition. And so let's take a look at what wants to come up for us, what additional insights, sacred wisdom teachings want to come up for us in regard to whatever's coming up from the depth of our unconscious shadow side for healing and integration. Here we go. The King of Keys. This is what the card looks like. This would be like the King of Pentacles or coins in a more traditional tarot. But let's go ahead and take a look at the symbolism here. The thing that I'm noticing is the red cloak on the horse, which represents earth energy. So the keys in this deck, the suit of keys, does represent earth energy, life force energy. You can see that the male figure here is in a very lavish land. There's a castle in the background, which more than likely is his castle. He's riding around his lands, overlooking, overseeing, enjoying the beauty of his lavish creations and manifestations, as if he's just kind of taking it all in and perhaps assessing what's next. I'm noticing that there's a sword showing here at his side, and it's on the right side of his body, which has to do with what we're expressing. The right side is our expressive side of the body. So when I'm seeing this, I feel like this sword on his right side is just representing his confidence and his intelligence, and wielding his intelligence wisely. So as this is coming up in the lunar position for us around what's coming up from the depths of our unconscious mind to be embraced, supported, empowered, or integrated and healed. For some of us, this could be really embracing the power of confidence in our ability to manifest our highest timeline goals and dreams. For some of us, it might mean bringing healing to things that have to do with your sense of ability or empowerment in manifesting your goals and dreams. So pause and ask how and what it feels like it means to you. When you look at this image of this person who's very much appearing to be in an energy of being pleased with what he's created, being at ease, and also sort of contemplating what's next. Where are you with that in your life right now? This is coming up so that you can ask yourself that. How pleased am I with my current reality? How can I empower myself to, again, harness the power of my personal energy in the direction of my biggest enthusiasms, as we talked about with the Jupiter in Aries? How can I work with that energy to experience positive manifested results? So on deep unconscious levels, any of you who are tuning in somehow are being compelled to bring some vibrance and vitality to what you're experiencing in your manifested life, in the way of living a life that you're pleased with, if that makes sense. And so contemplate that, maybe do some journaling about it. The next card is going to represent the solar influence, the sun, which we're going to look at in the idea of higher awareness, illumination, higher guidance that's coming through for us all right now. And I really feel like it wants to be this card, the King of Scrolls. So in this deck, the scrolls do represent higher mind, intelligence, knowledge. So we've already sort of talked about that with the Mercury energy and even with the Jupiter and Aries energy coming in. So how can you harness the power of your intelligence to guide yourself forward? The higher illuminations or transmissions of higher guidance that are shining in, on some level, we're all being compelled to really harness the power all the way around. We have two kings, the King of Keys, the King of Scrolls. In the tarot, the kings are the archetype of empowered mastery and leadership. So this is what's coming up for us all collectively within humanity right now. And then again, of course, we have our own unique specific ways in which we're working with it in our lives. But we're all being guided to claim and own empowered self-leadership as we embrace that energy of empowerment to lead ourselves forward in the ways that we feel guided and shifting into or more into our higher timelines. The experience of that naturally fosters mastery of awareness. So how can we best work with these energies of transformation that are shining in this week? Let's see what wants to come up. This is the one that's hitting my eye. It's the Four of Roses. And the caption underneath says, Views of the Ego. In this deck, the suit of roses represents our sensing, feeling body. When you look at the image here, you can see that there's a person looking in the mirror, and there's one reflection in the mirror, but there's actually several people standing here. So I'm going to go ahead and read what the book that comes with this deck says about this particular card. 3 people stand together before a full-length mirror. The man in the center gazes keenly at himself, and it seems his reflection is looking back with a superior air. His is the sole reflection to be seen in the mirror. The card shows that there may be a thoughtless, selfish person in your life, whether in a love, friendship, family, or business relationship. This person is self-absorbed and makes plans only in terms of how they affect him or her. You may have lingered too long, repeatedly giving to this person even though you haven't received much in return. It goes on to say, you've tolerated the dismissiveness because you've kept hoping things would get better, or perhaps you were too afraid to step away. You are called now to be aware. This person is unlikely to change, and you may be delaying the inevitable. Take an honest look in your mirror and see how staying in this relationship affects your future. Certainly, this transformative energy of this eclipse is definitely going to have an impact on our relationships in ways that are connected to an awakening of awareness, point of view, or perception that we're having with this deepening of insightfulness and intuition that the astrology around this eclipse is supporting us in. If we're looking at how can we best work with the energies that are shining in right now, I would say is to be really aware of how this particular dynamic has played out in your life or has been playing out, and that perhaps now is the time to make a distinct shift with relationship dynamics, whether it's friends, family, work, neighbors, whatever. Anything that has felt in any way less than mutually respecting energy exchanges, taking your power back from those situations, not draining yourself by pouring yourself into people, relationships, situations where you're not experiencing a harmonious energy exchange with. Doesn't necessarily always mean leaving a relationship behind, but it definitely means stepping up, showing up for your own self-love and your own self-worth, and shifting the dynamic through the lens of that. The last card we're going to look at is giving us insight as to a new pathway that's being illuminated in moving forward as we're transitioning out of this eclipse energy as it completes. Okay, so let me see what wants to come up. New pathway forward, new pathway forward, new pathway forward. Ba-ba-da! Wishes fulfilled, which is showing up as the 5 of keys. Now let me take a look at this card here for a moment. It looks like we're in sort of like an indoor-outdoor type of kitchen living space that looks really lavish, bountiful amounts of nutritious foods. It's an energy that's really inviting, a welcoming energy into our life. So new pathways opening up is connected to this. Now, let me go ahead and also just read the little blurb about this card here. So, and then as I'm looking for it, I'm going to talk about the fact that 5s, when the 5s show up, it is a time of innovation, creativity, imagination, and it's an energy that supports us in making changes in our life. And so the purple that it's bordered by is like crown chakra energy. So again, channeling in higher wisdom. And let me just find this 5 of keys here. Okay. So this card is a sign that the time has come for your wishes to be fulfilled and your dreams to be realized. Difficulties may have challenged you from a time, but even in these, victory is assured. There is an abundance of nourishments and acquired lands coming. The keys to the castle are yours. Celebrate. So I really feel like this is saying okay, yeah, we've all had our challenges in the past few months with these energies that have been going on, but we are shifting into an energy that is bringing us sort of a fulfilling return of the efforts that we've set forward in motion. So I'm super excited for you guys to share with me how this is showing up for you. And I'm going to be tuning in and checking in with you all either on the 16th or the 17th to see how we're all doing with the aftermath of this eclipse energy. And then we'll talk about the energies that are shining in astrologically for next week at that point as well. So I'm going to wrap it up here for today. This one was a little bit long. All my love, guys. Blessings. Namaste. And I'll see you in the next video.